We are live. It's setting it up. We should see it on our phones here in a second. Let a couple people join us here.
Sounds great, man. So good to be here with you.
Super pumped to have you here. This has been long overdue.
Like when you're like the fanboy, like, oh my God, I love what he's doing in the world. And you're like, I get to actually connect with him.
So for those that are jumping in here, for those that are watching this on replay, you know the drill. Do hashtag replay if you're watching this on replay. But we're back with another interview tonight. We're going to do several of these each week. We have so many people that want to step up, that want to lead, that want to add value to you, which is what this is all about. So this is another version of the Ascent interview series. Here is Alok Appadurai tonight. He's an amazing background. I'm excited for you guys to learn more about who he is and what he does. And there's just a lot of good nuggets you're going to hear tonight about what you can do for you from our discussion. And he helps coaches and consultants attain top 2% in their category in the industry. And he's had a huge track record of success with it. He's very, very good at what he does. We've gotten to know each other for several months now. I was debating on wearing it tonight, but he's got a really cool apparel line too, with some fun hats that I've gotten a couple. One's called Radical Gratitude. So I mean, we have the same values. We knew it within the first 30 seconds of meeting each other. So good to have you on tonight.
Hey man, it's a real honor to be here. And yeah, I love that shared values. Before the call, we were talking about your kids, and I got a child, and that family first attitude as an entrepreneur is huge.
Absolutely. Family first, operate with gratitude, and just have that servant mindset. So there's so much to unpack with you that I'm excited to do over the next 30 to 45 minutes. And for anyone that's watching, like Anthony, good to see you, Anthony, jumping in. Add questions in here. We want to answer your questions. This is for you. This is to bring expert guests on live for you to listen to, hear a different viewpoint, hear a different opinion, hear something maybe you've heard before, but in a different way that hits you and just makes a ton of sense. So please take notes. These are educational conversations as much as informational, and I'm excited. So you've really come from a background from a long time ago of just having this natural desire to be a give back first person, right? Where does that come from?
It's a great question. I've known that about myself since I was really young, James. But there was a pivotal moment. I was 19. I was driving in North India. It was a hair-raising drive. I was on the investment banking track in my career in college, and I had this moment where essentially my 80-year-old self sat next to me and basically asked me three questions that changed my life forever. They said, what'd you do with your life? Who'd you spend your time with? And did it make a difference? And I was like, oh, went back to university, rebuilt my major, and my entire career and shaped out of literally that moment. So yes, the calling to serve was from a very, that age 19 experience really transformed my entire career.
That's awesome. And the fact that it hit you then, that's a very formative time for all of us as young adults. So the fact that you had that experience clearly helped you propel it to be a social entrepreneur. So tell us about your business a little bit so people have more context. Like when did you start it? How did it all unfold? I'll let you go.
Sure. I'm a sales and business consultant for mission-driven coaches and consultants. I like the optimistic, badass visionary types, right? That you have a ball in your head that you can make a difference in the world, right? Like, people say to me, look, how have you been in the trenches for 20 years doing what you do? And I'm like, well, sometimes I literally think you've got to have a little bit of a screw loose up top to stick with it. And, through all the bumps and the bruises, people say to me, look, man, it's amazing what's happening in your business right now, man. You're so lucky. I'm like, you think this is luck? I mean, this is multiple decades in the making here of never quitting. It's like a rocky moment where you pull yourself up off the mat and you kind of keep going. And then one day it all clicks. And so my career has been in mission-driven business, and my current work is in helping people unlock and reach that top 2% in the industry, particularly for service providers, right? Coaches, consultants, experts, leaders, speakers. And I just love finding what I call profit leaks, right? It's like somewhere in there, either not communicating right, they either don't have the right product or service out, they don't have the right offers, they're not pricing services correctly, they don't know how to sell, they don't know how to close. Somewhere in there, they're kind of going, I got some of the pieces in place, but it's not all dialed together. And that's where I come in to kind of super glue that thing together into like a rocket ship.
That's awesome. So how long do you typically work with your clients?
I like one-on-one minimum for 6 months.
Okay.
You know, I used to take on 3-month one-on-ones, and I realized, you know, the folks that go all in, right? I mean, you've seen it. They're the ones that just show up like absolute beasts, right? And they like implement everything you tell them to implement. And they usually pay the most amount of money, take everything seriously. I mean, we have fun, but they just dive in. They're like, tell me the next thing, Capitan. Yeah. So I have group programs that are 3 months, but at that one-on-one for that person who really, they're really serious, really committed to earn phenomenal living by making a phenomenal impact. You know, that's really that sweet spot. And let's be real, my goal is to renew with them, really take them to whatever that next part of their vision is. But 6 months is the minimum.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. And I do this similar with our clients. Ours is around 6 months or more as well. And it's interesting because we both come from business backgrounds. I was in corporate for a long time. And even then, I mean, the sales cycle in corporate it takes a while. You know, when you hear people in corporate, if you ever talk to someone in big companies say, yeah, I got a 6, 12 or 18-month sales cycle, you're like, what? Like that, you can't do that in entrepreneurship, man. You'd be done. So it's a totally different world, right? But it teaches you a lot because to your point, man, like if you're not persistent over time to see things through, you just miss tons of opportunity. And you went through it quickly, but I don't want to overgo it. You've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of people that follow us that are not in it that long, that are maybe 5 years in, 10 years in, maybe even earlier than that. And, you know, I don't feel like that's talked about a lot, right? Like people want success right now. Success in a month.
You know, I'm usually I'm usually like the least popular guy when I bring out a certain belief structure of mine, which is that, you know, the getting from 0 to 10,000 a month in your business is an absolute slog. And, you know, you see the marketplace just absolutely flooded with like the latest get rich quick schemes. Like, you know, I'll get you 10,000 a month in 30 days. And I'm just like, you know, it drives me absolutely crazy because people end up coming to me after I've already like blew a few rounds with those get rich quick schemes. And, you know, the reality is after coaching over 300 entrepreneurs, I'm like, yeah, 0 to 10,000 is a slog. And most people will quit before they hit that mark consistently. Like they just don't have it in the tank, and that's okay. Like I will sometimes tell people, hey, you're better off going and being an employee somewhere because you don't have the chops for this, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. And the magic is that when you hit 10,000 a month, 10,000 goes to 20,000, 20,000 go to 40,000. And you can scale from there. Yeah. But most people will quit in that early zone. And it kind of is almost like intended to like weed people out, right? Like you don't have it through here. You don't get the glory of the 10 to 20 to 40 to, you know.
It's so true. It's so true. And it really, you have to do the work. Like you have to do it. It doesn't matter what you buy, what course, what technology, what app, whatever you want to add on to make your business look sexy. It doesn't do anything. You gotta do the work, right?
You know, most people out there, you know, they've invested, like, especially people coming to me, like I call in people, my ideal client is a high achiever. They want to be in the top 2%. And a really, really important detail that I identified is that they've already invested into prior coaching or prior masterminds. They already know what that apparatus does for them. So by the time they come to me, it's like, I realize I don't want the people that haven't figured out that that's, a great decision. And the key is most of them, let's be real, they're not strategy poor, right?
Yeah.
Like their bookshelf has 50 different strategies.
Right.
They're implementation poor.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's that difference maker. Like I say, give me the person who's going to roll up their sleeves and take absolutely outrageously bold action. Even if they don't know what they're going to do, I'll get you on the right track. I just need to know that you will implement,
This is why I brought him on. Because no one talks about this stuff. And it frustrates that to me to no end, because look at right now, for anyone that's watching, right? How many virtual summits or webinars or Zooms or whatever have you been on this week?
That's right.
Or last week or the month? Well, I had this conversation with my clients 2 days ago. How many Zooms have you been on in the last 30 days? There isn't a shortage of demand for knowledge or skill. It's through the roof right now. Right. So we want to talk to you about a couple of things tonight about how to look differently with your business amidst the market, because the news is painting a picture that, some of it's true, but a lot of it's not. If you use your eyes and your ears and you look at what's happening in front of you, yes, of course, there's some businesses that literally just got shut down. You can't do anything. There's nothing they can do, right? There's just nothing you can do. But for the audiences we talk to, for many of you that watch us, we know each other. Like, we're in the coaching consulting businesses, we're in the service provider based businesses that can still operate virtually. So there's so much pent up demand, and I want you to I'd like for you to comment on this, because I know you're seeing it. What are you seeing in the market for yourself and your clients with the market now?
Yeah, first and foremost, and I just want to follow on what James just said. I tip my hat right now. They're bricks and mortar. They're friends of mine. They're calling me saying, "Hey, can you give us any advice?" And I'm just being honest and going, to be honest, y'all are in a real, in possibly the hardest economic space. It's easy prior to this to go that many business owners don't think properly. Their mindset's not in the right way. They're making mistakes in their business. But let's be real. Right now, there are many, many, many businesses that are just having forced closure. My heart just explodes for all of them, because I'm just like, oh my God, how are they going to provide for their families, right? Yeah. So just tip my hat, loads of love out to those that are in that situation. And those of you that are in the online space or service-driven business, just is actually, I truly believe fundamentally, it is your job right now to go out and sell and keep the economy moving, right? If you are blessed right now to have a business that is still open for business, money needs to flow through that business so that the economy can keep moving. So there's a lot of others, hey, is it wrong for you to go out and sell right now? And I'm like, no, it's actually the economy needs you to keep money moving through it. So there is demand, absolutely. And in our sector, there's not just pent up demand. I have clients that are having record-setting quarters right now, and they're quietly coming to me going, Alok, I got a message from a guy. I'm doing a lead gen workshop on May 1st, and I invited him, and he said, Alok, literally right now, our leads are just like a fire hose right now. And I was celebrating him. I'm thrilled to hear that his business he's more opportunity now. So the key is people are finally asking questions that they didn't have to before. Yeah. Right. Yes. And so I really just want to urge everybody, if you hadn't thought about, a friend of mine on the East Coast, known him for 25 years, be honest, he's been driving for Uber to provide for his family, right? Makes $12,000 a month for Uber. So six-figure earner. I'm so nervous. I messaged him. He goes, this right now is the best thing that ever happened. I have missed every weekend for many years. I'm home. I'm learning. I'm retooling myself. I'm studying drones. right? So I can learn how to fly drones and shift my business so I can get out of that darn car,
Yeah.
right? Like there's opportunity. It may not seem like it. You and I talked into silver linings. There is absolute silver linings right now, even if you don't know if you can see them.
100%. And that might be hard to consume or digest for
Yep.
some of you that are listening to this. And I get it. I mean, I get it. We talk to hundreds of business owners weekly through our channels, and there's both spectrums. There's some that are just getting pounded right now, and there's nothing they can do, and it's not fair, really. And then there's others that are crushing it just because of the natural reaction to the market's needs. So, but for you that are in the middle, or for you that have the option and the time and maybe the resource is to pivot, it's ripe. It is ripe right now. And I don't know if you've heard this kind of messaging in the last week or two or more, but if not, we want to give it to you tonight because it's real. I mean, I always validate things and test things first before I announce things to the market or to my clients. I always test them first, right? And to make sure that it's going to work, because I want people to consume my advice and then use it, right? So, but the demand is there. You just got to look. It's all around you right now.
Yeah, here's what I would say to everybody out there, like in terms of a speed of a pivot, like this is the simplest, like unsexy, no frills advice I can give anybody out there is go figure out what the most expensive problem you can solve for somebody that has some money. And I'll just say that one more time. Go figure out the most expensive problem that you can solve for somebody that has some money. And you can read any, fancy book you want. And I'm telling you, it's going to come back to that. Position yourself to solve by far the most expensive problem that you can solve for somebody that has some money, and pivot in that direction, and then be relentless there. And there will be people that will make it through this, right? Like I don't teach high ticket sales, which for those of you outside the industry, it's where you're selling 4, 5, and 6 figure deals. I don't teach high ticket sales right now for, go get, as Taki Moore says in Australia, the yacht, it's shift from the yacht to the lifeboat, right? So for me, I teach high ticket sales now because that's how I fundamentally believe people will get through COVID. Not like, hey, this way you're gonna go get your, take 5 months off, right?
Right.
Like I'm teaching that because it's like the way that you're gonna provide and get through. So solve really expensive problems, the most expensive problems that you can possibly find. Work relentlessly and do what other people won't. So today, so you can do what other people can't tomorrow.
Can you say that one more time? That's a great quote.
That quote has never left me, James. A mentor dropped it on me a number of years ago. Do today what others won't, so you can do tomorrow what others can't. Okay. So like pre-COVID, my girlfriend and I, like last year, we were in Cuba, Mexico, Guatemala. I was in India twice, Paris, Brazil, blah, 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 right? And people were like, oh my God, so amazing, like, gosh, you can live that lifestyle. I even heard from somebody today that I did a post on how to shift out of envy and jealousy to actually celebrate people for what goes on. And a guy, he's like, I've been jealous of what happened for you last year. I'm like, yeah, that was 20 years in the making. But I did what others won't. So then at a certain point, I can do what others can't.
Yes.
Right. And so commit, go all in and put in the time.
Yep. I have a similar quote. We shared, do what others won't do, can't do, or wouldn't think of doing. And I've talked to so many successful entrepreneurs about this topic, some that have made billions of dollars. Yeah. And I always try to get like the most distilled, simple advice from them. Yeah. Because they usually have very simple points to make. You're like, that's it? Like you did all that from this?
That's right.
But that's the truth, is it's the more simple your mind and your business model is, the easier it is to do and scale.
That's right.
Right.
And it's easier for the buyer to say yes to.
Yes.
right? Like I'm constantly like, how can you chop out words? Like when I ask coaches, do you want to reach the top 2% of earners and income, income impact in the industry? Like, yes. I'm like, okay, great. Let's do something. Right. Like, it's like, how simple and clear can you communicate the most expensive problem that you solve?
Mm-hmm. Totally. And the funny thing is, I'll never, this was an interview I did privately about 90 days ago, maybe less than that, 60 days ago. And one of the things that they said was, in all the startups and all the companies that he's seen, it comes down to most ideas are not original.
Right.
They're all over the place, but
Yeah.
it's those that can execute the best that win.
Yeah. It's like beyond true. Like last night I was prospecting and I was in communication with this woman, and she wrote me back. I basically was asking her, like, what does she want to do with her practice? And she literally said something to the extent of, I want to get my business so I don't have to do anything and can really do what I want to do. And it's this whole, like, the lure of, like, I just want passive income so I can, like, just really live my life. And instantly, like, it was such a turnoff. Like, I was like, you're not, I'm not even remotely going to take this further. I do not want you as a customer because you're one of those people who want something for nothing.
Yes.
Read any biography of any successful entrepreneur, history of entrepreneurship. They all committed deep, right?
Yep.
So,
I mean, and that's the thing. Like this is a topic that I've wrestled with for the last few years, coming from corporate to consulting and coaching. It's almost like you get two different messages. Like it's like you get the ones that say, work your ass off. You gotta do a ton. Like you gotta go all out. It's more than you've ever thought. And then there's those that are like, no, like don't put pressure on yourself. Like just take it easy and just let it come to you and let it flow and all this stuff. I'm like, and I'm not trying to knock that. I'm just saying, from my personal experience and from the people that have crushed it, that are the legends of sports, business, you name it. There's a common theme there of work ethic.
I go back to a friend of mine's brother. A friend of mine's younger brother was an up and coming bass player, upright bass, jazz bass player in New York City. His name's David Wong. And he, from a young age, man, 15, 16, he was playing at the Vanguard, playing at all the major stages in New York City, right? And behind the scenes, what nobody saw was that he rehearsed like 8 hours a day. And from like age 12, 13, 14, like every day, right? And you're right, man. It's like you can go across the greatest musicians on earth, the artists, the athletes, the actors, anybody, right? It's like they put in the time to hone their craft and show up and show up and show up. So I agree, man.
I really love this topic. So we're gonna go a little longer on it.
Yeah.
Here, so one of my all-time in the musician world, I was a musician too. One of my all-time favorite trumpet player is Arturo Sandoval. He's a Latin jazz Grammy Award winner defected from Cuba. He's got an amazing story. He had a movie made after him. He's freaking incredible. But I actually got a private lesson with him somehow, some way, through a friend when I was 17 in Miami. And I spent an hour with this guy, which, I mean, you probably had to pay thousands to get that. I don't know how this happened, but I'll never forget this. The one thing he shared with me, because I wanted to know, I'm like, how do I go from wherever you quantify I am right now, from where you are, how do I go even like a little bit more? Like, how do I get a little bit better? Like, what's the trick or what's the secret? And it was so simple. It was, you have to be more in love with this than anything else. Like, you got to marry this and love it. And you hear that from some people in the entrepreneur space, not a lot, but some that say you have to, it's not about what you get, it's about the love that you put into it, the care and the give that you put into it that helps other people, right? And we'll quote Gary Vee, right? But love the process. Like you have to love the process. And it's interesting because I adapted that mentality, and I found out through experience that when you do this and you commit and you put all that time in, it gets easier. But it's about then, it's almost like you can then execute in a more beautiful way, and that's fun.
It's so
Right.
fun. Man, I love this. So, like today, I closed a deal with a husband and wife, and we had been in a mastermind group, and they reach out to me, and I got the text from the wife the night before. She's like, "Hey, my husband is moving for his coaching business, and I don't know if the stuff that he needs is like too low entry for what you do with people." And I already knew. I was like, "Oh, we're doing this right." Got on the call with them last night, then had a follow up today, closed the deal. And here's the line they said to me. They're like, "Alok, do you remember that you took a call with us like a year ago? You might not remember. It was like a 15-minute call. You probably, do you remember that at all?" I heard every nugget of that conversation. And she looked at me, she said, "I knew at that call that we were going to work with you. We didn't know when, that we'd have to get our money lined up, and I looked at her and I said, I knew after that call that we were going to work together." And whenever I talk to people about prospecting and building human connection, right, which I believe is the root of
Yes.
business success,
Yes.
so many people don't want to take the extra effort in the present moment to plant that seed that might turn around down the road and honestly be the easiest close that you're ever going to have. Like they were basically like, I was even explaining, parts of the offer, and they were like, "Dude, you don't need to do that. Like, we're already on board."
That's right.
Right. And
Yeah.
I just want to share that to people. Like, put the time in to connect with people, to be visible, to serve and give to them. Cause that's what I did back then. Fast forward 12 months, they're knocking on the door already ready to buy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Serve more. Like, and I'm going to share this line that someone shared with me. It's just, business simply solves somebody else's problem. When you solve somebody else's problem, you create value.
Mhm.
Money follows value.
Yes.
And sales, which I love, sales is simply the ability to communicate that you solve somebody's problem and create value. Right? Like, that's
Yeah.
all it is. Like,
Yes.
don't make it harder.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I love that you said that, because I like to mess in a fun way with people about cold calling, because it's got such a bad rap, and if you do it wrong, then it does suck, and it's not fun, and it deserves that name. But if you have the framework of what you just said, it doesn't matter if it's an email, a call, or a text, or whatever. It's about showing up with the intent to genuinely add value with really nothing in return. Like,
That's
you're
right.
just showing up because you can, and you can help somebody. That's it.
I mean, I made 5 figures in deals last week because precisely I had offered free service to get on a call and add value to people that were going through a complicated moment. And prior to that, I had volunteered to be involved in a challenge that they were running and offer an hour of my time to train their community, right? Then you fast forward and bang, that lands into multiple 5 figures of deals. So, if you're listening to this out there, like, don't be stingy with your ability to serve. Like, mostly, you're not time poor. Like, you've got time.
Right.
Like, load up your calendar with the ability to serve, with opportunities to serve. And whatever your belief systems out there, like, I believe that the universe, God, aligns around that commitment. But here's the thing I want to say to you to everybody watching about that commitment to serve is, be open to receiving as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because what happens is so many people, they swing the pendulum so far to that complete, giver mentality, which is my, actually funny you mentioned, this is my last hat, giver.
Yes.
It's also then be willing and saying, hey, I want to serve. I will put myself out there to serve, and I'm willing to receive the bounty in reflection of that service.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good point. That also I don't hear a lot either, and but it's true, right? Is like you have to give. You have to. I explain it this way: if you don't make an offer, if you don't put yourself out there and serve, you don't create the bridge for it to come back, right? But you have to allow it to come back. If you put up a blockade, you're not going to get it. So you gotta be willing to receive.
You can't get any deal you don't ask for, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's where when I say like focus on solving the most expensive problems that you can find, because then what you receive will really be fractional to actually what you provided to your customer, to your client. And that lens of serving, serve outrageously. Like here's a gem for your community. Most of, especially let's say in industries that start being saturated, and like raise your hand in a saturated industry, like pretty much many of us, right? And the online space is about to have a flood of new people flooding into it, right? And what happens is that will commoditize the industry. And when the industry commoditizes, meaning there's 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people offering the same relative services, what happens is people will start being in a downwards price spiral. Okay, because so and so is going to offer it for this price, then I better go to this price, and all of a sudden, you find yourself just like product businesses, the service business will start becoming commoditized in a downward price spiral.
Right.
Well, the way to break out of that, increase service. You want to raise price. I say this to everybody out there: increase service. Be the most outrageous service provider. People will never forget you, and you'll constantly be able to charge a premium. Because other people, they don't want to serve the customer. Here's a dirty secret: they don't actually want to show up for their customers. So if you just
ding, ding, ding.
Right? If you just jack up service just like this, you will be so ahead of the competition because they actually don't want to serve.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to serve.
And I can't help you if you don't want to serve. But that is so true. Like I know I've talked to some big names that everyone would know if I said them in the last 2 months. They don't want to do that.
That's right.
And they don't have to, or they don't need to either. That's so right. I get it. But for those that truly love being in the trenches and love serving and pouring in your clients, man, it is yours to take. Like your value is so huge. The problem is that your value is hidden. So that's right. You have to show it so people can see it. You can't describe it. You can't tell it. You can't have it on a page. Like you gotta give it. You gotta show and give so people can experience it and they can see it for themselves. Going back to the beginning of this, you have to let people see with their own eyes and ears your value, and they're smart enough to see the difference.
Yeah, I guilty as charged, right? I used to feel like, well, I can't tell my best gems, on an interview, right? Because I was so worried that this all comes out of like scarcity, and I want everybody out there like really feel into like where you've got scarcity. Because back then I was worried, well, will I run out of content, right? Like, will I run out of gems? And as soon as you realize that your creative imagination, as Napoleon talked about, your creative imagination, if you're continuously nurturing it, you'll never run out of gems, right? So I just will get on and I'm like, let's just start dropping bombs. Like, what are going to be the biggest, simplest needle movers that we can drop on the viewers so they can move forward the fastest, right? But you'll see people who like hold on to
I know
their best content, and it's like, the content ain't why they're hiring you.
Nope. And honestly, it's more about think about, I always say this to people too, like think about what the market wants. They want trust, they want security, they want connection, and they want to like develop themselves. So they need to have an environment that's safe, that they can trust, that they can see you can take them there. Well, how do you build that? Well, you got to be consistent,
Yeah.
right? you got to show up every day, because that's the best way you can prove to your marketplace that you're for real, right?
Yeah, and I think there's an X factor that we can tack on top. Is I've been really feeling into, and I actually want to admit to the audience that, you know, a mistake that I made, that I didn't realize at the time I was making it, but I'd like other people to not have to make the mistake. But I'd say a big piece of it is philosophy, right? It's understanding like, what are your philosophical positions, because
Yeah.
those will become magnetic. And
Yes.
so if I could share, I just want to share one that I realized
Yeah.
that I thought I was making the right decision, but I realized that philosophically I was contradicting myself. And you want to look for where you have contradictions in your business, because unknowingly those will be invisible business killers. So here's one that was the core value of my business, of my philosophical approach to life, which I wrap into my business, which is inclusion, inclusivity. Right. I grew up in West Philadelphia. My father's from India. My mother was a white American. Like, you know, I experienced things that a lot of people didn't necessarily experience. So inclusion, inclusivity, diversity, these pieces were very important to me. Right. So that all sounds good. You'd be like, oh, look, that makes sense. Well, I started realizing that part meant, and this runs the risk of getting a little third railish here on your show, but
You're good.
I realized that also meant that to include like full political range, that like I should just service anybody, you know, that I should be an inclusive space. And I don't like to get deep into politics. I'm not heavily political. But I realized that like I wasn't stepping into my full philosophical beliefs in my business because I didn't want to alienate. Right? And so I did a post about this about 6 months ago. And
I remember this post actually.
yeah. And I've reflected on that post so much since then, because I don't believe it spoke my truth. Because in the end of the day, if you ask me, Alok, who are your extraordinary clients? Like, who are the ones that get unbelievable results? There's an alignment energetically across what we believe about the world. And it's not that we'll agree on every count.
Yeah.
But I also realized, and I had taken on some clients from different spectrums politically, and when it came to renewal and they declined, you know, we just allowed ourselves to move separate ways, and it opened up a space for me to go, like, where will I have the most amount of fun and have the greatest amount of philosophical alignment? And I realized that I was censoring myself, James. I was censoring some of the beliefs that I hold true about what makes for a better world, because I was, and I'll just guilty as charged, people pleasing, right? So that to try to not alienate. And yes, you'll get a little, so I got a fractional more amount of business because of that version of inclusivity.
Yes.
But how much did I lose because I wasn't actually willing to take the stand that I knew I was meant to take? Right?
This is gold. That was awesome. I'm so glad you went there. And we're going to talk about this for a few minutes. And I have someone coming on in 2 nights from now, Jeff, who is really into this idea. And you can see it on his content. He's done a very good job. He's masterful at this. But he proves this point is, and you hear a lot of this too in entrepreneurship and with a brand. If you're not polarizing, no one can see you.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. I have gone through this as well, and I'm probably still going through it in some layers. But you have to be authentically you.
Yes.
And because the more you are, the easier it's going to be for those clients that you're describing, those ones that connect with you energetically, philosophically, to find you.
Yeah.
And they'll come.
Yeah. And I, I was facing what I would actually say is like the silent killer. It's like, because my business was actually having like a record setting year, right? So it was like, there was no actual signs that there was a problem. And the problem is actually what you don't know you're not getting. And I hope everybody just heard that clearly, right? Like I had to start reflecting and going, it's not that I'm not setting absolute smashing records in my business, but it made me start going, I wonder what my business would look like if I was even more outrageously myself and taking stands that I believe in rather than being scared, right? Because, and again, I'm just on a hunt to look for where there's scarcity, where there's fear driving decision making. And I want everybody to know this. This doesn't happen. This can happen when you're setting records in your business.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's true. It's
so
true. It goes back to what you said. Like it's about where are you having the most fun? Because if we're not having fun, then like what's the point?
Because at a certain point, especially once you start ringing the register consistently, it's no longer just about the money. Like I make good money. So then at a certain point, you also go like, I want to have an absolute blast with my clients. Like we're leading our first international retreat. It was supposed to be June. It's now going to be in October, November in Guatemala by this lake, by these two volcanoes at a private estate. And I'm going like, who do I want? There's only 8 suites. Okay. And I'm going, who do I want actively to travel 1,500 miles with and have to take a boat to get to, it's like, right? Like, who do you actually want to be around? It's not just do business with. Right. It's who do you actually want to be around? And when I really challenge myself into, and again, it's on that third rail. It's like the people pleaser third rail. When I really owned it, I was like, well, there's kind of a certain zone of the political arena that like it's not that I think you're a bad person. It's just we don't align in what I think will make the world a better place.
Yep.
And I give myself permission to go, I'm going to take a stand. No, don't get me wrong. I'm still crafting the copy around it. You haven't yet seen a post that fully drops into that, but that's what's brewing behind the scenes. So I really want everybody out there, like, take your strongest stands and align your strongest stands, like, into your brand, and don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I wrote that book. Because that we connected on that as well. It's about radically being you.
Yeah.
Like no matter what the world's throwing at you, of saying who they want you to be, or if they don't like that part of you and they want you to be this part, it doesn't matter. It's about who you are born to be, who God made you to be, what your gifts are, who He wants you, He wants you to use those gifts. Honestly, it's not about them. It's not really about you either. It's about it's about your purpose. Right.
I got this great piece of feedback. I was in a mastermind and I was surrounded by 100 entrepreneurs, peers of mine. I got the microphone. I stood up. I was so nervous to ask this question to the mentor. And I said, why should someone want to work with me? Right. And for those of you out there, like, this can kind of tiptoe into, let's say, imposter syndrome and things like that, which at this point in my career, like, I have no problem speaking into, and because I want people to be able to admit, like, hey, like, these things might be coming up for somebody who's watching here. So I asked this question, why should someone want to hire me? Like, there's so many other sales coaches or business coaches or whatever you want to call them, success coaches, wealth coaches, whatever. Why me? There's more famous ones, there's celebrities ones, they've got the big name clients, the results they've achieved for clients, help clients achieve have been these enormous results. Why should they want to work with me? And the mentor looks in front of 100 people and says, because it is you, and it's the sound of your voice, and it's your laugh, and it's your positions on life, and it's your track record, and it's what you built your career on. It's all the things that you did that are literally unique to you. and what is driving you, right? Getting to your idea of purpose. What's your why? And why are you moving? Why do you commit yourself to doing this? And what's your energetics? And how do you care about your family? And how do you treat your partner, right? Your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend, husband, whatever you want to call it. Like, how do you show up? It's all those reasons, Alok, that they precisely want to work with you when they could go after one of the big names in the industry. And I was like, oh my God, right? It's literally like, it is because of how you've chosen to show up that the person vibrates at, and you can say it however you want to say it, but vibrates at your frequency and goes, yep, you're exactly the person that I've been waiting for.
It's true. It's true. And I was never a big person into the energy stuff, but I've done more research on it, and there's a lot of science behind it that actually makes a lot of sense. And if you just think about it, the easiest way I think about it, I share with other people too, is just think about if you were to go to a party and you were in a bad mood, you had a bad day, and you're going and you're grumpy. Does anyone want to hang out with you?
That's right. Oh. Like you and I, James, you and I don't need a book to prove that to us. We've been around that guy. And I'll go one step further. When I was in my 20s, I was that guy, right? I was so frustrated about a lot of things that weren't working in the world. I was the guy at the party that could pull the pin out of the grenade and just kind of drop some, and so, it's people can say, well, I'm not into the energy thing. I'm like, well, okay, but there is absolutely high vibration and there's low vibration. And when you feed your mind all sorts of low vibration stuff, you vibrate at a low frequency, and guess who you will attract? Complainers. I want you to, everybody listening, I want you to look at who you're surrounding yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with people that are complaining, playing victims, blaming other people for why their life is the way that it is, stuck, low energy, not creating? Or are you around people who are moving into expansion, right? Who understand that there's expansive energy happening, that no matter what's occurring for them, they're going to focus, as Mary Morrissey says, focus on the vision, not the circumstance. Like, what is your world? What does your tribe look like? And if you don't believe in frequency, like I'll tell you, I cut people. If you want to be low frequency and complaining around me, literally the door's not open. You don't have access.
Right.
Like when I looked at you, I was like, man, I am getting on that guy's radar, right? Like that guy and I, we are gonna roll deep on something, right? And frequency, man, like whatever you want to call it, and people who breed, and the reason for me, it's like whether or not you believe it, like I was like, maybe I was skeptical at some point, maybe not, but there was a certain moment when I had some challenges, 2016, and I shed all the ego and the embarrassment, right, of what I did or didn't know. And I just started saying, I'm going to start doing what people more successful than me do. And I'd had a lot of success prior, but I knew I was underachieving my potential. So I literally just said, you know what? I will do what they tell me to do. I started reading the books. And then I was like, there are these themes, like if you read Science of Getting Rich, if you read Napoleon Hill, like you can go over like 100, 120 year time period. They all say the same things. And they all do not exclude the energetics of vibration, frequency, abundance, flow. So I was like, they have to be onto something.
Yeah, it's true. I'll tell you what, I got introduced to some of the music frequencies, and I didn't know this either, but that was a big deal about 100 years ago. And they changed it, the normal frequency tonality range, they changed a little bit.
Right? 432?
Yeah, 432 versus 440. And
I just learned about this.
Yes. So I started listening to 432. There's some other ones too, but it is actually like out of this world real. And if you haven't done this, do it. Literally just Google 432 hertz music. You can listen to it, but when you hear it, it literally makes you feel better.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Let me tell you what makes me feel even better right now. And this is see, when people say there isn't alignment in the universe, or there isn't, like, things happen, and there's a notion that I don't know the name of, where it's like when something comes on your radar, it starts coming on your radar more often.
Yes.
I don't know the name of that phenomenon,
I don't know
but
either.
literally a friend of mine whose mother just passed away, and he went back to Chicago to empty her apartment out. He and I were talking. He's my best friend in the world. Heart goes out to him, and he called me from inside her apartment, and he's like, "Well, I'm in here, and I don't know if you know about this, Alok, but I'm playing this 432 megahertz or whatever it is music, and I don't know if you know, but you know, my brother is, and he's not an inherently like woo woo guy, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, he was blowing my mind. I'm like, I've never heard of this. So I start going, my girlfriend's like, she knows about it. Then bang, you're like, hey, by the way, Alok, do you know about this thing? I mean, this is where the magic is. This is when you know you're just in alignment.
I know. I mean, again, I'm not like that, but there's actual, what's really fascinating about it, there's actual science behind all this, that it's been there for a long time. And it's like, what? So it's a whole other topic, but it's super cool.
Well, getting back to frequency and vibration, like, you know, just think about it. Like I say to people, you know, one of the concepts I talk around is what I call high value operative mindset. And I want my clients to become indispensable. Like I want them owning and having an energy that's absolutely indispensable. And we talk about it from a body language standpoint. It's like when you walk into a room, and I know right now we're in social distancing, but when you walk in, like, do people know that you entered the room or not?
Yes.
And like, it's an energy. It's not, and it's not the youngest person or the oldest person or the man or the woman or the race, the class, the gender. Like, I don't care how old, young, white, black, whatever. I know those people when they walk in the room. You see it.
Has anyone ever told you that they're attracted to you because of your energy?
That's right.
I get that all the time.
That's right. You know, how do you
want?
You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you know, the people who get it. So if you're not getting the results you want and not believing that this stuff is true, you got nothing to lose but to give it a shot.
It's true. I mean, and I'm so glad we went to here, because if we go all the way 360 again and you look at the the depressed market, you know, and the moods that go with it, there's plenty of that out there. You don't need to be that. You need to be this. You need to have a higher energy level, putting it into the market, like you said before, putting stuff into the market, making it go with a higher energy level. And people are going to love that. They're going to want to grab that. They're going to want to take that. They're going to want to consume that. And you're going to help them raise their bar. And guess what? That perpetuates it. Then they can do it to someone else. But it starts with you. You can be that fire starter. So I love that you said that, man.
People are craving it, right, James? They're in you know, my name Alok means light in Sanskrit. And literally it's like, I really say to people, like, be the light in the darkness. Like right now, more than ever, we've got these, you know, a global situation that's truly unparalleled, right? Well, what does the world need? More darkness? No, it needs some lighthouses. It needs some beacons for people to go, because really what at the end of the day are we all selling? And I want everybody to hear this. This will be another absolute gem. I don't care what your service is. And to be honest, I don't even care what your product is. But definitely for those in the service sector, coaches, consultants, service providers, experts, leaders, speakers, whatever, you're selling hope. It's a 4-letter word. That is what we're selling. And anybody who doesn't understand that will be stuck. The faster that you understand that you are in the hope business and the people business, and it's the giving hope to people business, the easier it will be for you to magnetize and become that magnetic pull for people to want to come towards you.
It's so true. It's so true. Nailed it. Nailed it. We can talk for hours, man. This is awesome. We need to seriously. We need to figure out when we're going to actually hang out after this.
I'm ready, man. Let COVID move through, and then, you know, I can come help you shovel snow up there.
Yeah, we're finally hopefully out of that. It's been crazy, but hey, well, Thank you so much for being on tonight. It's a pleasure to have you and share your knowledge with our audiences. And God bless you, bless your business, your family, and for everyone that's watching, really put this into practice. This is as good as it gets.
My man, thank you so much, James, for just giving me the honor and the opportunity to be able to speak into your community. And lots of love to everybody through this really, really complicated time in life.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.